こるこの社会もいたずらに力を振りまく犯罪者も粛清対象だ。全ては正しき社会のために。
Hello folks, it's Solomon Lee, your favorite philosopher, author, martial artist, and officially, as of this moment forwards, a villain. And in time I hope to become a supervillain, but we'll get into more about that later. So essentially I want to declare openly that I do identify as a villain, and I am pretty proud of that actually. And I want to make sure that there's no misunderstandings. Just because I'm a villain doesn't necessarily mean that I'm an evil person. And while I don't condone evil, I do understand that in many cases, small evils can accomplish a greater good, which is why I've chosen to become a villain for the greater good. We can discuss semantics, we could discuss practicality, we could even go into utilitarianism if you want to, but this isn't the right video for that. This is simply my introduction video to explain, just very briefly, why I've decided to become a villain. And a big part of that is because, for the most part, I'm trying to make the world a better place, and I've been doing that for all my life. So I've never met anyone else who's actually had a similar sort of life experience, or even a life direction as I have, and I've spent close to the last 3 decades constantly pursuing good, pursuing excellence, pursuing the benefit of mankind, humanity in general. And I'm not going to lie, I've done a lot of good. I think I've contributed in many ways. You can ask people I've worked with, my friends, peers, well-wishers, etc., family, and for the most part, I have some pretty glowing reviews. The people who generally don't get along with me aren't the types of people who align with my morals and views, which usually revolve around selflessness, contribution, nobility. These concepts are all very important to me. At the same time, I've spent so long not just trying, but being good in many ways, in all facets, spiritually, realistically, for the community, in terms of self, that for the most part, I think I have actually neglected a part of myself. I've neglected who I want to be, and I think that suppressing that is actually an evil concept. Human beings are meant to be able to express their full potential, and I think that I've actually achieved the limits of what I can actually do as a heroic or good person. So essentially, I'm giving villainy a shot. I do feel like this is a calling that's been on my mind for not just in the last couple of years, but it's always been at the back of my mind. This idea of what society needs, and not being afraid to be the evil that is necessary to help the good bloom. So I do want to underline that I am a villain, but for the greater good. A lot of that's not going to change who I am as a person, but going forward, it will probably change some of the directions, some of the KPIs, the priorities I take in my life. And I hope that you'll continue joining me on that journey. I hope that we'll be able to have many deep, thorough, and interesting discussions. And also hope that, if necessary, if you feel like my ways, my goals, my concepts and strategies are antithetical to you, then I hope that you will oppose me if you feel strongly enough. Because the last thing we want, whether you're good or evil, is to be a hypocrite. That's neither here nor there. Anyhow, I didn't want to go into too much detail in this video about my motivations leading up to this point, but I would like to end on a more lighthearted note. There are 12 villains, my Villainous Zodiac, as you would have seen from the start of the video, who inspired me in many ways to adopt my new persona as a villain. So I thought I'd go into a bit of details about them. Before that though, here's a list of the 12 villains who are runner-ups into my Zodiac. Those were the 12 villains who were potentially going to make it to my Villainous Zodiac, but in the end they couldn't make it through the semifinals. I'm not saying that they weren't important or poignant in shaping my decision process, but a big part of why they weren't chosen is simply because I don't think that the direction going forwards is as crucial involving those villains as the ones we're going to discuss now. And I'll just be glossing through them, but if you'd like to go into more detail, I actually wrote a piece on each of these villains and their motivations, as well as the similarities that I personally felt drew me most strongly to them. And if you'd like to check that out on my Facebook page, Solomon Lee, I've included the links in the description. So if you're interested, have a look at that. But without further ado, let's have a look at the 12 villains of my official Villainous Zodiac.
Just tell me, did I have any part to play in this?
No.
First and foremost, we have Toffee, the immortal lizard, or evil efficiency expert. Man, I love this guy. We didn't see much of him in the TV show, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, but he's actually voiced by the same guy who plays Dexter, you know, that serial killer forensics expert. Anyhow, yeah. Surprise! Yorokobe Shonen. Kirei Kotomine. He's one of the reasons I fell in love with the Fate franchise. This guy is such a badass, you know, he basically tanks bullets and kills people with sheer will, and he loves mapo tofu, which is one of the first earliest Chinese dishes I learned how to make.
All for one.
Sate. Yaruka.
All for one. Last name Shigaraki. We don't actually know that much about his backstory, but we do know that he's one of the reasons why My Hero Academia has probably some of the best heroes and hero concepts around. I love the fact that he's basically a stand-in for capitalism, to absorb and consume everything.
You have any sugar around here?
Sugar? Sure. Here you go. Sorry it's not in packages. Want some cream?
No.
Hank Scorpio was only there for one episode, but he's left a lasting impression to this day. Fun fact, did you know he was actually meant to be the villain for the Simpsons movie, but in the end they went with someone else because Mr. Scorpio is just too likable. You guys want some sugar? Yeah, let me reach into my pockets.
To establish a perfectly content, perfectly ordered world, all under the benevolence of my iron will.
Dr. Victor Von Doom, arguably the best character in, well, I should say the best villain in all of Marvel. This is a guy who can do it all. He's got technology, martial arts, sorcery, grand plans, a castle, you know, he's got political, diplomatic immunity. But the version I love the most is actually Superior Iron Man, when he becomes good and decides to take up Iron Man's mantle. You should actually check out his Wikipedia page.
I have no intention of going to Azkaban.
Enough of this. Take him!
No, this isn't a mistake, folks. Dumbledore, in my opinion, is actually the main villain of the Harry Potter series. And it's not that he's the principal antagonist whom Harry Potter, the protagonist, has to overcome. No, this is the person who sets up everything so that all the characters can grow, so that the plot can actually develop. Ogata Ishinnsai, or Kensei as he's known, the Saint of Fists, in history's strongest disciple, Kenichi. This man would have been the original history's strongest disciple, but fate intervened and it was not to be. This man is a martial artist after my own heart, and he is, first and foremost, a pioneer of the martial arts. Darth Krayt. Now, this is someone I truly admire. Honestly, it's a shame that Disney will probably never adapt him, but if they do, they'd have a villain that could last probably, 5 movies at least. This is someone who's done it all, been all, started out as a Jedi, eventually became a Sith, and then rose beyond that to become something greater than both.
There is no human race. There is only the Master Race.
Now here's a Time Lord you can set your heartbeat to. Doctor Who's main arch rival, the Master, is probably one of the reasons I actually started watching Doctor Who in the first place. And every time I see his performances on stage, I always get so hungry. So hungry, in fact, that I want to eat everything.
世人也许很容易了解夫子的痛苦，但未必能体会夫子在痛苦中所领悟到的境界。
Confucius as a villain. A lot of people wouldn't understand that, especially if you've never grown up with an East-West comparison. But if you read my Facebook page's piece on Confucius, you understand a bit better as to why I've included him as a villain.
大为思真，忠义和奸恶都不是能够从表面就能看得出来。
Cao Mengde, or Cao Cao from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, actually was a real person during the late Han dynasty, and he is a perfect example of a villain for the greater good. To this day, a lot of people have heated discussions as to whether or not he was a good or bad person. Nonetheless, no matter what side you take, he was super effective at his job.
我不会和你一般计较，我只是要知道，你现在还能当五岳盟主吗？我没下。
Yue Buqun, or Zhen Zijian, the Gentleman's Sword. He is probably one of my favorite characters in all of the Jin Yong novels. This guy is from Smiling Proud Wanderer, specifically, but most of his novels, if not all of them, have the same continuity. What do I love most about him? Mostly how much he highlights the difficulty of trying to be an upright person when you're dealing with chaotic times. And there we have it, folks. Solomon Lee, the villain, with his villainous inspirations of the Villainous Zodiac. So, I suppose the only question now is how to proceed moving forwards.
Family, religion, friendship. These are the 3 demons you must slay if you wish to succeed in business.
If you do oppose me, then that's good. A villain's role is to ensure that he can help shape the hero, basically provide a test, an obstacle that the hero can overcome. I'll be looking forward to all of you young heroes in the world and what you'll be able to accomplish. And remember, despite how it seems, I'm actually on your side. Now, if you are fundamentally opposed to me and wish to stop me...